Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Doujinshi, and welcome back to another episode of Hentai Reviews, the only series where we finally have a small amount of budget to make ourselves look a little bit more professional. That was cheesy, but let's keep going. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about something a little special, how some things can be a very good flavor that stands out on its own and can have such long-lasting uses for so many different mixtures and continuous uses. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, but what's this? A second flavor that is completely different but utilizes a lot of similar textures? You know, it's honestly the same, really. Sorry, I forgot to get a little dressed up to the nines before I start showing you, honestly, what sixes and sevens are out there. So, today we're going to be talking about a third episode in a series that we've done, and let's go ahead and get back to something we did a while ago. Today we're going to be reviewing episode 3 of Boku no Sefure ga Dekita Riyuu, and the differences between it and its last two iterations. Now, done by our friends over at Bunny Walker, this little one runs at about 16 minutes and 16 seconds long and has a total of about 10 categories, notable of which are threesome, schoolgirl, and cream. Now, the reason I'm a little hesitant about that is because the Threes company really kind of doesn't fit with this one, but let's go ahead and get into that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and get into the animation real fast, shall we? Hey, here's my little cut-in. Please subscribe. I'm doing a lot more of these, and I'm trying to get back into them, and I really enjoy making these videos. That's it. Back to the video. Now, when it comes to the animation, I can safely say there is a god because something has decided, you know what, we're going to put money into the animation and consistently keep it in the animation. Oh my god, it's so nice. But, it is, oh, it's so good. Now, the animation, flat out, is an 8 out of 10. Now, I say that as I just gave it praise, which you'd think it'd be a lot higher than that, wouldn't you? But there's not really much I can say that keeps it at anything above. When something is consistent, it's hard to keep that idea as consistent. Now, the 8 out of 10 is justified for a few reasons. Number one, a lot of the everything that happens in it is non-segmented. You don't see the pivoting joints of a lot of the people as if it's just a GIF, whatever you want, pushed in just these movements that feel so rigid and structured. There's none of that. Everything is fluid. There is an animation of like a scene, not body parts that are meant to move. Now, on to the next one, limited looping. When something is looped a lot, there is a lot of holding on one scene as the camera moves up and down as the singular characters are doing one thing consistently and moving and moving and moving, and they're not really doing anything else except for that in a scene. There's very limited amount of that, which is really good because holding on a scene is good, but holding on it for too long sucks. Now, the thing I harped on for, the consistency. Oh, it stays so good throughout all of it, which is so hard to say for a lot of stuff because episode 2, you see the budget drop a lot. And for episode 3, budget's non-existent. Don't even worry about it. Unless it's an old school 90s or 80s one, which you get very lucky on very little of the time. Oh, it's so good. Also, side note, wanted to say that there is a lot of round faces in this with uneven line work that kind of match up to, remember the old one that I did a while ago that had the dude who was convinced, the dude who like had something with him that made his sisters see him as like a younger version, and then they all started sleeping with him because they thought he was cute. It reminds me a lot of that one where the line work is very like single stroke. It's more like a whole bunch of them as it goes up and down in size a lot, with rounder proportioned faces. That's pretty much it. 8 out of 10. Oh, so fucking good when it comes to this. The story for this is a little harder to like pin down when it comes to like how much I like it because it's a little strange. You see, the story consists of, this is the third episode in the series, so you'd assume Anan, the main character, and then the, let's just call her the MILF. She is supposed to be there, but no, they change it up, and now the main character is still Anan, who I believe is differently designed, but the MILF has been replaced with 2 other girls. So is it any better, which is the problem? Now let's get into that. You see, the characters in this consist of 3 people. Main character, Anan, typical main character in hentai, nobody really cares, he's there for plot reasons. There's Saki, who is blonde, outgoing, and a lot more, perverted. just flat out. And then Koharu, who is the introverted, more likely to sit back and watch, who definitely has a voyeurism kink when it comes to this, and the relationship between all three of them. Now, the plot consists of the main character and those two end up getting into like their own thing and figuring out that they like getting together, while Koharu finds out that she has a kink for voyeurism, and then the plot kind of revolves around that. There's very little going on, but it's pretty much just one person finding out that they actually like something, which is not much for plot, but hear me out. There's a reason I give it a higher score than normal, even though the plot itself is non-existent. You see, there are ways that this plot is actually framed that make it a little bit more like advanced when it comes to just the standard level. You see, when there are people actually going at it, the scenes are darker. There is condom usage, which is a very rare sight in a lot of this, and there's a lot of like respect given to the fact that this is specifically filmed in darker locations with a sense of like forbidden fruit feel to it. That's always the vibe that I got from it, and understood that there is a taboo going on, which voyeurism is kind of on the lower end of that, but I'm not here to judge. That's what I always got from it. It was a forbidden fruit angle that holds with these characters acknowledging that there is a kink that is outside the norm, constantly going on all the time, every time they go at it. Now, there is one thing I did notice. As I went into the comments, I noticed a lot of the people in the comments were very adamant that they missed the old cast, but they like this new one a little bit less so. I find them a little bit on the same side. Like, I kind of agree, but then again, you get to know the original characters for 2 episodes rather than just 1, but I understand. Now, what would I give this when it comes to it? Also, when it's like not in the like plot sections, it's a lot lighter, it's a lot fluffier, it's a lot happier. All the characters are a little bit more up and not nearly as like drawn into like, ooh, secrecy, let's do this, while also making sure that there's an angle that holds it to a darker perspective. Now, the story, I'd probably give this like a very low rating when it comes to story for how just not like exciting it is. It's very bare basic, and there's not really any like character given to them, except the way that it's presented, because I did go into a lot of that there. This is presented in a very strong way, specifically for the fact that these characters have like a motif going with it. Respect the kink, even though it's outside of your realm and others may not view it as that bad. There's a level of respect given into it there, while also happier, more lighter, open in the public moments are given a lighter show. I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. It would have been a 3, but those extra 3 points come in for presentation, which really helps. Trust me, I've shit the bed on a lot, and I mean a lot of school functions. Presentation is a very big key. You can't tell by my videos because my presentation isn't great, but trust me, everywhere where people know what they're doing, it really adds. 6 out of 10, let's get on to what we're all really here for. In the beginning of this video, I gave you a knowledge of one of the 3 notable tags. Notable of specific was the threesome tag. Now, this is what I'd call a false tag, specifically for the fact that it fits, but not really. Now, if you're probably wondering what I'm talking about, it's like when something is there for the intent of what it is, and then the technical parameters show that it's there. Say, when someone has the UB ugly bastard tag, it's there for the fact that there is a character who is a little bit more forceful, and there is a little like uglier to contrast the character actually being better looking to show them off. Now, that tag is misused a lot when it comes in because it's specifically supposed to be used for that scenario. Now, a lot of the times when it is used, it's used for characters that are just generally older, not really that good looking, and they're nicer people who then get to be a part of the tag just because that's the stigma of it. This is one of those cases. There's a threesome tag here specifically because there are 3 people involved in most of these scenes, when that is not in fact the case most of the time. It's usually just 2 people going at it while 1 person watches. I wouldn't call that a threesome, I'd call that more like a movie. So let's go ahead and actually get into the scenes. You see, scene number 1 starts at 35 seconds and goes all the way to 1 minute and 45 seconds. The notable tag of which would probably be voyeur, and for a pretty good reason. It focuses a lot on the like person watching just having a good time because of it. And this scene's context is a flash forward showing that the characters do this more later on in the future. Now, This one, pretty good start, very short, minute and 10 seconds, not that bad. Now, to scene 2. Scene 2 starts at 5 minutes and 10 seconds and goes all the way to 10 minutes and 35 seconds. The tag-specific ones for these I would categorize as job fair and oral service. There's a lot of, like, body parts being used that show off everything, and this is probably the first contact where it shows off the characters are actually meeting and going at it for the first time, where 𝓗𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 is brought in by her friend, and then the main characters actually get together, and then it's shown that she's like, do you want to participate? Do you want to keep making out? And then she's like, no, I'm good, I'll just watch. And she realizes she's developing that. And then to the third scene, which starts at 11 minutes and 30 seconds and goes all the way to 14 minutes and 40 seconds. This notable tag is, I would classify this as a different tag from all the others. This is voyeuristic lust, is what I would consider this. Now, you're probably wondering what that is. Voyeuristic lust is more of a build-up for the idea that there is a voyeur present during the scenes themselves. The draw of it is the girl getting turned on, consistently being viewed from her perspective. The camera focuses on her more than it does the actual scenes themselves. She is always the focal point in these scenarios rather than the actual act that's going on themselves. With the context for this being a montage and 𝓗𝓷𝓪𝓲's buildup, she's actually just realizing that she likes this. She's not there to be a part of it. She's there because the idea of being just so close and just so there and watching so many other people grow up. Honestly, I'd call this the introverts, the introverts perspective. That's really what this is. And there is a little bit of stuff that goes on with this. Of all these ones, it is the answer to the question. There's the thing that makes you ask the question and the buildup that is the equal sign to how it's supposed to be viewed. That's probably the way that I put it. There's just so much that builds up to the character actually having a fetish and sticking with that one, only getting strengthened throughout the entirety of it. And it's a rather tame fetish, if I will admit, but let's go ahead and get into the ratings for it. You see, the actual ratings I'd give this would be an 8 out of 10 for all these scenes. Now you're saying that's probably pretty high, but I haven't been very, like, explosive about it. An 8 out of 10 for this is strong because there is one problem with it. It's very singular. It sticks with one thing, which is pretty much just like regular sex, and then one singular tag that elevates it and consistently holds it there. So that's the problem with it. It's very singular, which pushes it down a little bit. But the 8 out of 10 is there for the quality of why it's there, the scenes in which it is shot, and the consistency at which it holds to that character and makes it feel hotter and hotter. The voyeur is the hot one in the scenario. The people going at it are just the garnish that makes the character a little bit more, like, happier to see, a little bit stronger of a connection, because you watching porn is another way of seeing a voyeuristic sense, which shows the character getting turned on in a much more exaggerated way than most of us probably look at the screen at 2 a.m. and don't really know what to do with our face because we're not focusing on that. Now, an 8 out of 10, I'd say was my solid pick for this. You may disagree. It's completely okay. So let's go ahead and get into the overview. What do I think of it overall? You can clearly see. Now, I would give this a solid 7 out of 10, specifically for the fact that this has potential and could have been used a little bit more. 7 out of 10, specifically for the fact that it is short, which allows you to get short, sweet, to the point. But unfortunately, you don't really get a lot to work with when it's only about 16 minutes long. Not complaining, but you could use a little bit more time to grow it a little bit further. Maybe take out the first scene and then mix it in closer towards the middle and have a little bit more build up, add about 3 more minutes onto it. There could be greatness here. The animation and scenes themselves are quality. Build up the story a little bit more. That's all you have. Maybe in the second one, you can elevate it a little bit more. Well, fourth one, technically. But there is elevation that is here to be used. Unfortunately, it's not utilized here. That's probably my biggest problem with it. Great. Could use a little improvement. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who watched this. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's been with me. I'd like to say thank you to everybody that has subscribed in the time that I haven't been making videos. I appreciate each and every one of you fellas. I appreciate each and every one of my patients. That's a dead joke because I don't wear the mask anymore because doctor, haha. But I still got the coat, so I'm keeping it. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you everybody for watching. And please, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to just enjoy what it's like to have somebody who makes this sort of stupid content, because very rare for very good reasons. Thank you everybody. And remember, have a nice day. Don't be a dick. There's too many of them. And wash your fucking hands. I have been the doctor. Peace.